Finally, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to your WWE King of the Ring 2019 Bracketology. I can't tell you all. Before we get into this, Streamlabs OBS is what we have been using now for the last couple months to live stream on YouTube since we found out that Google Hangouts was taking a shit. So Google Hangouts, and I don't even know if it's Hangouts itself, but Hangouts on Air went away. So Hangouts on Air is like gone. That's completely done. OBS has been what we've been doing, and it's been very reliable. But now today, it didn't restart. It updated. And I could not find anything, and when I went to go live, it wanted me to insert a title and description as if this video didn't already have a title and description. I don't even know. But guys, we have got King of the Ring 2019 starting up tonight. Literally starting up in 50 some odd minutes. And John and I have got a lot of opinions that we want to talk to you all about. So John, you see the bracket. I have the bracket is basically the background of this video. So it's going to be really easy for everybody to follow along. How are you feeling about, just without making any predictions yet, because we will get into it, how do you feel about this bracket?
Brother, I'm fucking psyched for this tournament. It looks legit as shit. It's really stacked. I mean, you look at the Raw side. I know Abel said that he felt like the Raw side of the SmackDown side beat because they've got Cesaro, Joe, Ricochet, McIntyre, Cedric, Zayn, which is a fresh matchup, as is Cesaro, Joe for the record, and Miz, Corbin, which is probably the weakest matchup of the bunch. And then, you got SmackDown, Kevin Owens and Elias, Ali Murphy, which given their 205 live history, if they get time, that's going to be a fucking banger. Former tag team partners, Gable and Benjamin, both with the collegiate backgrounds, so that should be fucking legit. And Cruz versus Andrade, who have had recent beef, and now there are actual stakes to their beef, which just automatically makes it more interesting. Yeah, dude, I freaking love this. I'm hoping with the star power of this, whoever ultimately wins gets a big push after this. And depending on who wins, I would hope that push would be to the world title. But again, that's what we're here to discuss is our predictions, so I'm ready to dive right into this, man.
Yeah. So we've got 16 men here in this tournament, 8 from Raw, 8 from SmackDown. And you know what, dude? I think we're just going to go in order from the top left down to the bottom left, stick to the Raw side first, and then top right down on the right side, on the SmackDown side. So let's just start. We actually have Cesaro versus Samoa Joe is happening tonight. So who do you believe is going to win this match?
I have Cesaro going over Samoa Joe in the first round.
Yeah, as do I. And it's kind of unfortunate just because Joe, I feel like, has already lost so much credibility and he's going to lose more tonight. But we do agree that Cesaro will win. And that, to me, is because I like to kind of play the odds. And it doesn't really matter who wins between Ricochet and Drew. Because if Ricochet wins, he's got more history with Cesaro than Joe. And if Drew wins, he would absolutely face a babyface. And Cesaro is undoubtedly more of a babyface than Joe right now. So really, Cesaro over Joe is just something that is like a really, really smart bet to make based on the fact that it doesn't really matter who wins. Cesaro's next opponent will make sense, whether it's Ricochet or Drew. But
right, we
are picking the entire tournament, so let's get to Ricochet Drew. Who do you have winning between these guys?
Maybe considered an upset by some. I actually have Ricochet going over here.
And this is where you and I diverge, because I actually do have Drew McIntyre winning this match. We have the tournament ending in similar ways, I would bet. I just have a different path to getting there. I have Drew winning this, and then we would get Drew Cesaro in the quarterfinals. But before we get to that, let's get to the other match that we're going to be seeing tonight, Cedric Alexander versus Sami Zayn. And I'll go first on this straight up. I have Cedric Alexander beating Sami.
I have it the same. They haven't done anything with Sami since he's come back.
Except have him lose a lot of matches.
Exactly. So that's his function, and that's what he's going to do against Cedric tonight.
Yep. And then we've got the Miz and Corbin. And if I would believe that Sami Zayn would beat Cedric Alexander, I would pick the Miz here. But I've got Cedric winning, so I've also got Corbin winning.
Agreed. I have Corbin in my bracket as well.
All right. Now let's, before we get over to the SmackDown side, I want us to kind of narrow it down to at least the semifinals on Raw. So you had Samoa Joe, you had Cesaro versus Ricochet. Who you have going to the semis out of that match?
I have Ricochet going to the semifinals.
Interesting. And it's funny because I have Cesaro versus Drew McIntyre, and I have Drew McIntyre going to the semifinals. But then You have Cedric versus Corbin, and I'm assuming then that you have Corbin winning that?
Yes.
And I have Cedric winning, so we get Cedric versus Drew in the semis. You have Ricochet versus Corbin in the semis. So now let's go over to the SmackDown side. Kevin Owens versus Elias. Now, to me, there are 3 baby faces on the SmackDown side that would make sense if Drew would be the representative from Raw in the finals. And Kevin Owens is one of them. But then we've also got Ali and Buddy Murphy are the other 2, and they're facing each other. And Murphy right now isn't a babyface, but I think that over the next couple weeks, they could very easily turn him into a beloved guy. But as far as this first match, though, Owens-Elias, to me, the entire fate of the SmackDown bracket almost hinges on this match. Because if Kevin wins this match, I see him most likely going to the finals. Or at least the semifinals on the SmackDown side. If Elias wins, though, I think it makes things a whole lot interesting and throws things for a loop. But before I even say who I officially have winning, I want to know who you picked out of these 2.
I actually have Elias going over via Shane McMahon interference.
Yeah, I do as well. I have Elias winning as well because of the same reason. I think Owens winning would make more sense. But like you said, Shane is a thing. And I think that there are 2. I think Owens really... It's funny because if you just pay attention to how things have been booked lately, as far as like how powerful Owens has looked and the way that they've really kind of portrayed him as, you know, SmackDown's second top babyface behind Roman, or behind really Kofi too. Owens should be a guy that makes it to the finals, but because of all the Shane shenanigans, if he doesn't lose to Elias straight up, he will undoubtedly lose to either Ali or Murphy because of Elias interference, I would project.
Right.
So even though Owens should make it to the semis or even the finals, there's just going to be too much going on that prevents that from happening, whether it's Shane or Elias or a combination of the 2. I definitely agree that Kevin Owens is very likely either going to lose here, or if he does manage to beat Elias, then that frees up Elias to fuck with him in his next match, you know?
Right. I completely agree.
That being said, though, I do just think I'm going to pick Elias to win because let's be real, this next match between Ali and Murphy, I mean, technically Murphy's probably going to play more of a bully role in this match, but by the time we get to the second round for NXT or for SmackDown, Murphy's probably going to be a full-blown face by then. So Murphy versus Elias makes just as much sense as Ali versus Elias, which is what, to me, makes this the most difficult match to pick in the first round.
I try not to overthink it. Murphy's already embroiled in the storyline with Bryan, Rowan, and Roman, and we know tomorrow night in the match I'm easily looking most forward to, probably for the whole week if I'm truthful, is Murphy versus Bryan. Depending on how that match goes, I could see them meddling in Murphy's match. And Ali's been talking with his promos on Twitter and everything else because they couldn't find time for him on SmackDown Live for whatever reason. That, you know, he's clawing back to the top, the opportunities that have been taken from him, but he's going to keep fighting and take his own opportunities. I see Ali winning here. So I have Ali versus Elias in the next, like, you know, the quarterfinal.
Yeah, and
round.
this was another one where I think that we are going to get kind of interference shenanigans because I would definitely expect Rowan and or Bryan to show up during this match and cost Murphy the win. So I agree. Yeah, I also will have Ali winning, but man, if Bryan and Rowan just kind of keep their noses out of Murphy's business and let him do his thing, Murphy versus Andrade as a potential semifinal match has got me so excited.
Oh my God, yeah. Are you kidding? That match would be fucking insane.
Yeah. So we both have Ali winning. We both have Elias winning, which means that Ali versus Elias will then be a thing in the quarterfinals. But before we get to that, are we in agreement that Gable and Andrade are both advancing in their respective matches? Because those are the 2 most obvious, like, obviously they're moving on kind of thing.
Yeah, totally, dude, totally.
So our 2 SmackDown quarterfinal matches, we're going to have Elias versus Ali and Chad Gable versus Andrade. So really, we could go one of 2 ways. Elias versus Gable or Ali versus Andrade. I'm going with the Ali versus Andrade route. How about you, man?
I'm going Ali versus Andrade as well, man.
Yeah, all right. So we've got our semifinal matches already selected. On the Raw side, I've got Drew McIntyre versus Cedric Alexander, kind of continuing their ongoing feud. You have got Ricochet versus Baron Corbin, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Very interesting. So then for both of us, we actually agree on SmackDown. We do have Ali versus Andrade. So which means that for potential finals matches, you could either have, being as logical as possible here, only doing face versus heel, you could either have Ricochet versus Andrade or Baron Corbin versus Ali. I could either have Drew McIntyre versus Ali or Cedric Alexander versus Andrade. So it's kind of an interesting dynamic there. I'm curious though, John, who do you got?
I have in my final Ricochet versus Andrade.
Wow. Okay. Very interesting.
That's a match of the year candidate if they make it final.
I don't know if it would have enough time to be a match of the year, but it's definitely got it on paper for sure.
It's got the performers for it.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely.
What's your final?
My final is actually a little bit different than yours. I've got Drew versus Ali.
Interesting. So
I want Andrade to be the king of the ring. Like, Rey Andrade is the thing that I want most to come out of this tournament, but I'm doing my best to keep myself emotionally separated from my picks. So I'm trying to really go at this based on, logic and what I think will happen rather than what I want to happen. And as much as I would love to have Rey Andrade, for him to take that title away from Mysterio, it would make me beyond happy. And I did an entire Twitter thread on it.
Which you should all read, not to interrupt, but seriously, guys.
No, I was going to say that. I want everyone to take a look. If you're interested in, how excited I am about the prospect of Rey Andrade in King of the Ring 2019, go look on my Twitter. I haven't tweeted much since then, so you'd be able to see plenty of it without having to scroll too far. But from a purely objective standpoint, you were right about Ali. Ali has been putting out these video promos packages like crazy. I think that it makes a lot of sense for him to kind of make it to those finals and be like the biggest deal babyface. Because, like, to me, out of the three guys that are babyfaces between our two brackets, because I've got Cedric, you've got Ricochet, and then we both have Ali. So out of those three guys, I think Ali, of those three, is the most likely to make the finals. Because I love Cedric Alexander, but what are the chances of him making it to the finals of the King of the Ring tournament? Like, they're not zero. I do think he has a shot, and I would love it because it would most likely mean that he would be losing to Andrade in the finals. Ricochet is, to me, the second most likely because, Ricochet's been doing pretty well lately. He dropped the U.S. title to AJ. They've been having good matches, but I also feel like they're kind of cooling Ricochet down a little bit. Whereas Ali, I feel like Ali is the one out of those three guys that they're really getting behind and starting to heat up with these promos, with the vignettes. They just had him do his thing with Nakamura not too long ago. So I just think that of the three baby faces specifically that we have in our finals, or potentially in our finals, I think that Ali is the most likely one to make the finals. And really, we only have two eligible heels. With three, you have Corbin, but I have McIntyre, and then we both have Andrade. So obviously I would love Andrade, but I really don't think Corbin's going to make the finals. Although if he does, I would actually pick Ali to win the whole tournament. Ali, we wouldn't. Who needs Prince Ali when you've got King Ali, right?
Yeah, for sure.
But if Drew makes it to the finals, it's going to be him and Ali. And before I say who I got winning, I want to know you. Who do you have in your finals?
Well, since you spoke a bit at length, permit me to do the same.
Oh, absolutely, man. No time limits.
I want to really emphasize, go and read Ashton's Twitter thread. And I emphasize that because your Twitter thread, and I told you this personally, got me so amped up. I got a blank template for the King of the Ring, and I filled out my bracket immediately, and I went all in on your vision. Because to me, and again, my final is Ricochet Andrade. I think with Ricochet being the kind of babyface that he is, I feel like the kind of build that you want to give him is like he's close to making that next step or breaking that glass ceiling, whatever adage you want to use, but he can only make like a really impressive crack, not enough to shatter. Like he had an amazing program with AJ. He didn't win the series with AJ. Now the King of the Ring is the next project. And Andrade, here's the thing, man, with Andrade and why I'm going all in on him. and we were even just talking about this a little bit before we went live, because you asked me, was Edge a babyface or a heel when he won in 2001? I told you he was face. You said, oh, he was the last face to win King of the Ring. I look at King of the Ring as a device that's more naturally suited for heels.
Yes.
And when you talk about like where people are in the company, Andrade just beat Rey Mysterio, who commentary and everybody, and objectively, when you look at his body of work, is a legendary luchador, just a legendary wrestler in general. He beat him 2 straight falls. I do not know. And then when you go in the Spanish aspect, which again, I credit to your thread, and it would be Rey Andrade. How do you not run with that fucking shit? When you've got Rey Mysterio now talking about sounding damn near forlorn, like, I've got to do it for my family, I've never lost 2 straight falls, like that. Like, he's doubting himself, and he's having, I won't call it like a middle-aged crisis, but he's having a career crisis. Like, can I even still go at this level, this and that? There is so much, to me, emotional weight in this story, and this could be the rocket that you and I, as hardcore Andrade fans and many others, have waited for to be strapped to his back and taken. Because here's the other thing, too, that I look at. I said at the start of the commentary that whoever would win, I would want to see them get a big push. I'm talking world title implications. Well, the world champion on SmackDown right now is Kofi. And I love Kofi, and I've gone to bat for his reign on Twitter and elsewhere. But, dude, I don't think it's a stretch, and I don't think it's insulting to say that Kofi has the appearance of a beatable champion. And he's both very strong, but, like, I feel like he's the type of guy that, like, all it takes is one bad night, and anybody can beat a Kofi Kingston. I feel like Andrade, with the momentum he's building now, it's so similar to me of that momentum he had right before he took the title off of, oddly enough, Drew McIntyre in NXT. I feel like you give Andrade this, the next pay-per-view, if we would have Kofi versus Andrade on the card, our preview predictions, I would tell you in no uncertain terms, I'm going 1,000% Andrade's corner. He is the next WWE champion. And that's kind of how I'm feeling, because we got the Orton feud now. Orton's not winning the fucking title. This is just another feud to kind of really legitimize Kofi as a main event player. I am going, and I would credit this 95% to your vision that you articulated in that thread, and then just 5% my hardcore fucking fandom for this beautiful son of a bitch. I am going 100% on Rey Andrade for King of the Ring. King Andrade, baby. We got to do it. We got to do it. Because the thing is, now, I don't want to guess. I'm going to hand it back to you. Are you going all the way where I think you're going with your final? Like, who's going to win and everything? Because you even said, right?
Here's what we have in common, John.
Yeah.
We both have the winner of our final challenging for a world title. The difference is I have got King McIntyre challenging Seth Rollins for the Universal title.
And here's the thing. I don't find fault with your logic. I don't even find fault with that match. I think that could be an amazing match. Where I get frustrated yet again is with WWE, because I don't see why Drew would need this. And I said this to you in a game of Rocket League. The dude is so impressive physically and athletically. Just treat him like it. I feel like the King of the Ring platform, why I went so hard on Andrade too is, look at the man. Look at how he boasts. Look at how Zelina talks about him. I just feel like it's so perfect for him. If they give it to Drew, it's fine as long as it gets a world title around his waist, which he's deserved since yesterday. Like, for how fucking long now. But, man, you talk about those big Hispanic stars, man. And I know you said you want Andrade to win, too. So, for you, Drew's an objective pick. It's not like it's a fandom pick, and you made that clear.
Well, the thing is, am I a fan of Drew McIntyre? Yeah, sure. But is he my favorite guy in this tournament? Is who I'm rooting for? Absolutely the fuck not. Like,
yeah.
If I had my pick, it would be Andrade 1, Murphy 2, honestly, maybe even Gable 3. Like, I would love to see King Gable, see him get kind of pushed up the card a little bit. But, and especially if we would get Gable versus Elias in the SmackDown semis. That would be amazing. I would love it.
Yeah.
But I just don't think WWE's ready for any of those guys to be seen as a main event player right now. Which is why I'm saying Drew. Because here's the thing. Does Drew McIntyre, this 6'5", 270-pound beast, need the King of the Ring in order to look like a credible world title contender? Of course not. Of course he doesn't. But has he taken a lot of losses lately? And maybe the WWE is finally like, hey, maybe we should remind people that this dude's a fucking beast. Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just think, all of the rumors are pointing to WWE wants to use the King of the Ring to make somebody. Well, if anybody needs made, as far as just somebody who has everything that they look for in a top star, that can go from, yeah, he's there, but he's not really doing much, to holy shit, this dude's a killer. It's Drew. It's Drew McIntyre.
Yeah.
And not
Yeah.
to mention, I mean, dude, it's and he's always 20 or 30 years late for pop culture references. They're going to go full Braveheart with this.
Yeah, yeah. And see, again, like, it frustrates me because I can't sincerely find fault with your logic. It just makes me so angry because Drew had so much momentum coming from NXT, like, even with the injury and everything, and getting called up. I wish, like, because the push that we're envisioning happening for him now should have happened a long time ago, and then the King of the Ring should have been freed up for somebody else. But because they fumbled the ball so fucking much on Drew's push,
Yep.
like, it would make sense that to, like, correct course,
Yep.
you would give this to him. I'm still sticking with Andre because you know how I am. I get stubborn. I go down with the ship. I've seen more sunken ships.
Yeah,
I
just hope that if it comes down to Andrade versus Ali and Ali wins, I hope you don't hold it against Ali then.
Oh, no, of course not. Of course not. It's never the fault of any individual performer, nor is it the fault of you for making that brilliant thread. It would be the fault of WWE for not seeing the same promise that you saw when you made it, or that, anybody could see when they watch Andrade compete, which, again, it's so weird for me because I want to make clear, too, I'm not anti-Drew. I feel like I've been just as frustrated as you and a lot of other people when he hasn't been pushed when he should be. The dude has all the fucking goods for a top star in this
I mean,
company.
yeah, dude, but here's the thing, too, as far as Drew goes. Like, imagine if he does win the fucking main event of Clash of Champions. Because that's another reason why I think that the winner is going to come from the Raw side. And I'm just hoping it isn't Corbin, for Christ's sake. But,
yeah, really.
Because here's the thing, Clash of Champions, we already know we're going to be getting an Orton-Kofi rematch, right?
Yeah.
And what's the next pay-per-view after Clash of Champions?
Isn't it Hell in a Cell?
Yeah, that's not where you start new feuds.
No, it's not.
So I don't think that we're going to get Andrade versus Kofi in a Hell in a Cell match, or even at the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view. I think we're probably going to get Kofi Orton again at Hell in a Cell, unfortunately, in the cell.
Yeah. Ugh.
That's what I'm guessing will happen for the SmackDown, for the WWE Championship, which opens things up for the Universal Championship since Brock isn't getting a rematch, and we know that now.
Yeah.
So Seth is your champion. Who's his challenger? The winner of King of the Ring. Who's the winner of King of the Ring? Most likely a heel. And now that we've narrowed it down even further, most likely on Raw. Well, it's not going to be Joe or Sami Zayn. So that just narrows it down to Drew and Corbin. And for my own sanity's sake, it can't be fucking Corbin. So
Oh, God, no. No, and here's the thing. Not just for your own sanity. And I know this doesn't
for the
matter
ratings.
to them. But no, and not just for the ratings. And I know this doesn't matter to them, but that doesn't mean it didn't happen, and it doesn't mean we can't call it out. By WWE's own established logic, because remember, when Corbin and Lacey lost at Extreme Rules, the caveat was this is your last opportunity at the Universal Championship. And Seth's still the champion. I mean, he lost it for a hiccup and he regained it.
Yeah.
But I would think as long as Seth's champion, Corbin, you're one guy that can't challenge. So it wouldn't even, the internal coherence, wouldn't even exist. If it was
So I'm thinking, man, the Clash of Champions comes around, the main event. Seth might even enter first. Because I think Drew is going to get one hell of a special entrance. He's going to get fucking bagpipe players. He's going to come out with half of his face painted blue in a kilt, and he's going to win. And he's going to win the Universal Championship. That's my prediction.
Dude, can I just say one more thing in response to all of this?
Sure.
I see where you're coming from. Again, it's not me taking umbrage with you or anything. But I swear to fuck, if Drew wins this tournament and then doesn't go on to become Universal Champion, I'm going to rip whatever hair is left on my head fucking out. Because no, you cannot. Here's the one thing that I think you and I can agree on, regardless of who we have being king. If you're going to commit to this, fucking commit. I do not want them to have their foot on the gas and then right when it's time to come collect, they take it off. No. You make him win this. If I have to suffer Andrade not getting this, everybody, I'm talking Drew fans, sensible wrestling fans that see a top star in him, anybody, better fucking hope he gets that championship because I think that's really a fucking waste and it's a spit in the face of everything they could have done with it. They've got to make the most of this. They have to. Like, you're either going to make Drew definitively, and he's going to be in that main event, rarefied air, that, you know, you build him up, and then when you beat him, it's a big fucking deal, or you're not going to do it. Like, he's going to win, and it's going to be like a Sheamus thing where the crown is merely just like a fucking trinket with no actual value. In which case, all this hype I have for the tournament, because I'll be truthful too, I know it's not a pay-per-view, but I'm at like a 9 out of 10 hype level for this. They got me. Once I saw the bracket and you told me how stacked it was, my hype went through the fucking roof for this. So I am really anticipating it. Do not fuck this up, because I can take these sour grapes if I knew that they made the King of the Ring meaningful for, I don't know if it's going to be a yearly thing now or every couple years, but anytime they decide to do it, if you're new.
Well, the last one that they did was 2015.
But with them bringing it back, I don't know if they would decide maybe we can make this a yearly thing or what. Yeah. Regardless,
like what they kind of have been doing with other stuff, like with, you know, the War Games and NXT, you know, with the WrestleMania Battle Royals, that kind of stuff. Like they're kind of starting to try and start new traditions, you know.
Exactly. And if that's what you're doing, and you're saying, okay, past is prologue, we begin a new history tonight, you know, new king, or at least a new history with this tournament. You start with Drew. Drew's one hell of a precedent to set, especially if you go all the way and you say, oh, in the months after he became Universal Champion. The only reason I'm a bit hazy on that, though, and again, I'm saying it should happen. I'm talking more objectively, and my cynicism with the WWE product, it really seems like now having Seth beat Brock Lesnar clean, I could see him almost having a Roman Reigns-esque run. I'm going to be truthful with you. Unless this King of the Ring causes a hiccup in his time on top, that being Seth Rollins, I wouldn't even talk about him dropping the title until the earliest Royal Rumble. And he may not even drop it until WrestleMania 36 next year.
I mean, dude, if they wanted to turn Drew McIntyre into a household name and into a star, they would have him hold that title from Clash of Champions in September through WrestleMania and have him drop at Backlash at the end of May or at the end of April or in May. And the reason that I say that specifically is because I want him to hold that title, defend it successfully against Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania, and then drop it the following pay-per-view. Just to whoever. I don't care who it is. It could be Seth again. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, you have to do this right. And that's the thing. When I look at, and I think that's another reason, like, I didn't mean to, like, throw Kofi under the bus talking about
I want Drew to have his own little King's Court, too. Like, I would love it if he had, like, underlings, if he had his own little faction that revolved around him. It's so cool.
Hey, King Booker did, and it worked great for him, because he had his court, and that was William Regal and Finlay.
Yeah.
So, you know,
and wasn't Orlando Jordan involved in that? Or no, I think you're thinking
of the cabinet with JBL.
Yep.
But yeah, I think that's another reason, though, man, to be honest, that I said Kofi, not to throw him under the bus, but, like, just from a booking standpoint, I say all the time, you are what you're booked. Kofi is not Seth Rollins, because Kofi's never beaten Brock Lesnar. Like, that's huge for Seth to beat Brock. And I just feel like they're going to go all the way with him. But I would hope that if Drew wins this, he would Claymore kick Seth's face off and become the Universal Champion, because you can't fuck around with whoever wins this tournament. And even people in our chat are saying, do not fuck this up. Whoever wins, we're all going to be looking at them.
If Corbin wins, you've already fucked it up.
Yeah, true. If Corbin wins, first of all, I look like a goddamn idiot because I openly bullied the man on Twitter. So that's more crow than I'm going to have to fucking eat. And then it's just bad. You've immediately killed the concept that you've tried to revive, and now nobody has any interest. Andrade, again, you want any more proof of how fucking brilliant that is? People need to go and read your Twitter thread. McIntyre, I mean, I feel like, you know what the funny thing about McIntyre is? He seems like the guy that whenever we know he's in something, whether it's a chamber or Rumble or King of the Ring, everybody goes to him. Why? Because everybody's waiting for him to be the top guy or one of the top guys.
Yeah.
And is this going to be the time? I mean, at this rate, I'm so dispirited, probably. But let's hope.
I just have this, the thing is, like, you know my vision for Andrade, but I have a vision for Drew as well, where he beats Seth in, I won't say squash-like fashion, but in dominant fashion. Like, maybe he beats Seth in, like, 8 to 11 minutes. Like, quicker than your typical main event. He gets, like, 80% of the match, Drew dominates. Seth gets a few hope spots like he would against Brock, but Drew ends up coming out on top. And eventually, over the course of time, Drew ends up becoming a face, kind of like the way he was in NXT, where he kind of came off as, like, the fucking gatekeeper of the company, you know? Like, You know, you can do whatever you want, but if you start to try and come after the WWE, he will fuck your shit up. And then that's when you put him against Brock. And you get babyface gatekeeper Drew McIntyre against, you know, I'm gonna come win the title and then leave for UFC Brock Lesnar kind of shit. And that's fucking dimes. It's pure fucking dimes.
Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong. You're not wrong in anything you're saying. My concern has never been with you or any kind of logic. It's always been with this fucking company, and if they share that kind of vision or at least something close to it.
Yeah.
I don't know. We're gonna find out, but I'll tell you, if they do, they better commit to it all the way, because I'm also waiting for Andrade to get his rub on the SmackDown side, especially with SmackDown going to Fox in October.
Yeah.
Like, I'd really like them to make Andrade as well to be that top Hispanic star, which is why, though, like, it comes back to one of my central gripes. You can make more than one person at once. Like, Vince needs to get a therapist. He needs to work through this shit of being tentative about making one guy at a time, because you can make Drew on Raw and you can make Andrade on SmackDown. You know, like, it's
I'll tell you what, man, if Joe or Sammy wins tonight, it will get my hopes up immensely for Andrade to win his side of the bracket and maybe even the tournament.
We'll see, man. We'll see. But I still am. I will say this discussion, even though it's kind of made me lose a bit of confidence in my Andrade prediction, because, I mean, you just laid your case out so strongly. I'm still hyped as hell for the tournament. I can't wait for it. Guys, this is actually the first time I've actively anticipated Raw in months. I have not given a fuck about the Raw product in so long, outside of The Fiend and a few individual performers, and when Kabuki Warriors show up. But yeah, as conceptually, this is a Raw I'm actually looking forward to. So everybody with Discord access, I hope to see you there, because we'll probably be reacting, kind of conversing with each other about the tournament, kind of talking about how we feel about the matches, all that stuff. So we'll see you guys in a bit, those that have Discord access. And for those that don't, and you're like, oh, that sounds like fun. I mean, August is almost over. You donate $1 to the Patreon, you get Discord access for the month of September. So, $3, excuse me. $3 for Discord access. And you'll have it for the month of September, and the tournament will still be underway. So, something for you guys to think about. So, with that said, we'll see you again. Actually, no, we're not doing SmackDown Live, right? We have no recordings tomorrow, right? Because we're done with SmackDown. So
we have 205 Live reaction.
Oh, that's right, because Paul requested it?
Yes.
So thank you very much, Paul, for the 205 Live reactions, because we got the 5-on-5 matchup, which has been hilarious to see come together on Twitter. And then Wednesday we've got NXT Live reactions, which should be good shit.
Yep. And then Thursday we've got Stardom. We're going to be live reacting to our first ever matches from the 5-Star Grand Prix. And then Friday we've got a double recording. 5 p.m. Eastern Time, we will be going live to react to 2 Kenta Kobashi versus Misawa matches that have been requested by Javaris. And then we've also, at 7 on Friday, we're going to be doing live reactions to the first day of the Super J Cup.
Yeah, it's gonna be epic, guys. It's going to be fucking awesome. So we'll see you all then, and I'm going to hand it over to Ash and take us home.
All right. We hope that you all enjoyed this bracketology. Be sure to let us know what you think is going to happen on this King of the Ring tournament. You know, we've got our first 2 matches tonight. The tournament's probably going to get stretched out all the way to Clash of Champions, with the finals happening at Clash of Champions. Make sure to fill us in. Let us know what you think is going to happen. And, of course, like this video if you enjoyed what we had to say. Click that bell icon after you subscribe. Join the notification squad. Follow us both on Twitter and on Twitch. Like our Facebook page. Buy our merch on Teespring. Donate to our Patreon, as John mentioned earlier. And, of course, share this channel and this video with all your wrestling fan friends. And let them all in on the best-kept secret in the YouTube wrestling community. That's right. We are TwitWow, and we are the workhorses of the YWC, and we will continue to prove that moniker with our continued coverage of the 5-Star Grand Prix, and, you know, maybe occasional WWE stuff too every now and then. But we do hope that you all enjoyed, and of course, we hope that you all remember to stay tuned.